Welcome to Uping Stock Trend Prediction channel. So in this video, I'll talk about the prediction and analysis of the Tesla price, maximum price or minimum price or trend for the next week or the next month. So today is April 30th, 2022. So this is the Tesla weekly chart and this is the Tesla daily chart. So if you haven't watched my video before, so for this kind of Tesla weekly chart, for example, if it's weekly chart, then each vertical bar is 1 week's real-time data for Tesla price. And so that's the past week, the yesterday, that's basically the week predicted in video number 71. Uploaded to YouTube on April 23rd. So that's April 25th to April 30th. And that's a week before the past week. So and this trend line, this yellow trend line and the blue trend lines are the predicted the maximum and the minimum price trend lines predicted by the Uping's algorithm. So for example, if this is a daily chart, that means each vertical bar is 1 day's data, and that's last Friday, last Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and the last Monday in the past week. So all these trend lines, yellow trend lines, are the predicted trend line predicted by the Uping algorithm. So you can see, for many cases, the fluctuation of the Tesla price basically captured by this kind of trend lines. And you see some trend lines, you see the maximum price touches these trend lines almost exactly for some points. Generally, it captures this kind of fluctuation region and range. So in video number 71, if I go bring up this monthly chart. So in monthly chart in April, on the first day, April 2nd, I almost showed this monthly chart, and at that time, so there's only just 1 or 2 days data. So all this kind of a fluctuation of the monthly fluctuation are not shown or are not available at that time. So this kind of trend lines are already generated in the early or in the first day, even after the last month was closed. So at that time, I showed this picture, showed this chart. So this kind of trend lines, so the trend lines and the intersection between the current months, basically that's April, the chart or the monthly chart. The intersection between the monthly chart and these trend lines are basically the predicted price, minimum or maximum price for April. And this point are predicted price, minimum or maximum price or target price for the next month, for May. So in April, when I showed this monthly chart, this kind of a prediction for May are already generated, but prediction for May is not finalized until the closing of the last business day in April. So but the prediction of the April is already finalized. So in the video number 71, at that time, there's no any kind of this kind of a fluctuation data available at the time of video number 71. So in video number 71, I talked about the potential, the temporary rebound. But I also mentioned in that video number 71, last week, that's the April 25th to April 30th, is the last week of April. It's a kind of a special week to close the whole month. So there's still a possibility to have the Tesla stock price to drop in this band. In this band. So it depends on if it will first go temporary rebound, go up, or will go down. So in the past week, from April 25th to April 30th, exactly the Tesla price exactly fluctuated in this region, in this band. The minimum price is slightly exceeded this minimum trend line, but reached down to this trend line, still in this low price region. And the last Friday, the closing price, you see, last Friday closing price exactly closed at this trend line. For the month, from the monthly chart. If you go to the daily chart, that's last Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and the last Monday, and that's the last week. So the Friday prior to last week, it was closed around this $1,006, $1,004. And then on Monday, it opened low. It has some kind of a temporary rebound, or closed below this trend line. So when it closed below this trend line, is a kind of an indication or sign it will have a continuous drop or continuous decreasing momentum. So on Tuesday, when it opened around this point, also slightly, if you zoom it, and you see on Tuesday, it was opened also slightly below this trend line, and this trend line also have a strong decreasing trend. So on Tuesday, it has a very big drop, opened around here and almost dropped to here. So it's on Tuesday, it dropped from $998 to $876. It dropped almost by about $122. So, and then it fluctuated in this region, and basically on Friday, it also have some kind of temporary rebound. It opened here, and at a certain certain time, it tried to have some kind of a rebound, and exactly reaches this yellow trend line, and that's about $933. Exactly reaches this kind of yellow trend line. So it's because it's also a kind of resistance, and then when it reaches this yellow trend line, and then it started to decrease. And on Friday, it decreased and closed at this point about $870, and this closing price last Friday, exactly the monthly chart, from the monthly chart, exactly happened on this trend line. If you zoom it, so it's almost exactly touches this, dropped to this trend line at this intersection between the trend line and the actual price bar. So that's the last week. And then so many people are also interested in what will happen for the next week or maybe next month. So if you zoom it back for this monthly chart, and you see for this monthly chart, it was closed around exactly at this kind of trend line, and so it doesn't have a very strong indication that it will immediately or quickly have a rebound. So, and also it has slightly decreasing trend for the next month. So, but generally, it's when it drops to this trend line, generally it is still in the low price region. So the next month's fluctuation is expected to be around in this region. So about between this is about $841 and $1,099, and so I will just That's the preliminary estimation for the fluctuation region for the next month. So I will follow up with that. So generally, when it goes to low price region, and it will have some kind of a struggle and needs to take some time to have actual reverse or actual rebound. So if you check the weekly chart, if I open this weekly chart, you see this weekly chart for the next week. You see this is still have the strong decreasing momentum, decreasing trend. It is good. The last Friday, it closed above this trend line, so it still have some kind of a hope to have the temporary rebound. Because it was closed above this trend line. And if you check the daily chart, the last Friday it was closed around this. So when it was opened around here, it was tried to have a rebound, a temporary rebound, tried to increase, but it has the resistance, touches this resistance and the yellow trend line. It's a kind of a relatively maximum price trend line, and then it started to decrease, and then when it decreased, almost decreased to this region, and you see this trend line also started to bend up, and it's still that means it will have increasing momentum. So early next week, the fluctuation region is around this region. There's a possibility that it may also go up to this yellow trend line again. So fluctuation region for the early next week is around $845 to $897, with also a possibility to reach $935. So this is a kind of prediction for early week, or maybe middle week, or those type of thing. So if it can have that type of increasing momentum, and if it can switch to this kind of a higher band, and then weekly chart, it may goes up to this trend line, $964. So $964 is normally predicted maximum price for next week. Depends if it will continuously have this very strong increasing momentum. It may have a possibility to reach this yellow trend line, but it depends. Because it still shows a decreasing momentum and a decreasing trend line for the next week. So it will have a tendency to go down even more. And this trend line, the predicted or the target minimum price is around $787, but it probably will have a little bit of low probability to reach that low, but it's just to have that kind of a possibility. But the fluctuation region of the next week is still in this region. Is around maybe like around $846 to $964. So, and depends on which region or band it is fluctuating. So there's some kind of a potential target maximum price and a minimum price associated with that fluctuation band. So for example, if it fluctuates in this band, then this is a target minimum and maximum price, but it could go spread among two bands, or maybe even up to three bands, about two bands. So for this kind of a top yellow trend line, or the bottom the trend line, so these are the kind of the upper limit of the maximum price or minimum price is is a kind of a target value that's will typically it will not be reached. It's just a kind of upper bound. So generally for this kind of a top trend line, it will rarely reach this kind of a top trend line or the most bottom trend line. So it's a kind of if for example for that day when it reaches to this kind of a maximum price, the top trend line, yellow trend line, definitely it's a kind of indication that it reaches the maximum price. You see when it reaches to this maximum price trend line, and it started to decrease, to drop. So generally this kind of the top trend line is normally will not be reached. So typically this yellow trend line is the normal fluctuation region. And when it drops to this bottom trend line, is typically is a kind of indication of the very strong indication of the minimum price. Is also that's a kind of a buy signal that is give you a very strong buy signal. And that's the typical fluctuation region. So if you are interested in this kind of prediction or analysis, you are welcome to subscribe Uping Stock Trend Prediction channel or watch more video in YouTube.